Hey everybody, welcome back to Comic Book History, the show where we take a look at all the cool, fun, and just plain weird facts in comic book history. Now, I haven't done one of these types of videos in a while on account of being super busy, trying to branch out to different types of videos that I've been doing recently. Sue me. But whatever, let's get into today's comic book history episode. The fact that Gwen Stacy had children with Norman Osborn. The thing is, I really didn't want to talk about this one because everybody and their grandma has talked about it by this point, and the fact that the story is unbelievably stupid. But you know what? It really hasn't been talked about enough. Marvel thinks they can just sweep this story under the rug and just hope that we forget about it, but we have to remind them that this is a thing that they still have listed as canon, otherwise we might get something just as stupid as this later on down the line. Alright, so basically what happened is, during the events of the Sins Past story arc in the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man, issues number 509 through 514, for those of you reading along at home, Norman Osborn gets the brilliant idea of attacking Spider-Man. So far so good. The only thing is, he decides to use his own children, Gabriel and Sarah Stacy, to do it for him by telling them that Peter Parker is their real dad and that he's the reason Gwen's dead. So of course they attack him. He ends up proving he's not really their dad. One of the kids turns into a goblin called the Grey Goblin, and they eventually disappear, only to be seen again, I think maybe one other time in the 6 or 7 years since they were first introduced. Fantastic story, Marvel. Loved every second of it. Now you may be asking yourself why and how this is a thing. And if you were a reader at the time this story originally came out, you were basically given a big fat middle finger and told to f off by Joe Quesada, because Marvel, for whatever reason, refused to expand on the big questions this story dragged up, like why they wanted to ruin arguably one of the last positive points in the Spider-Man story, or even in the Marvel universe as a whole, or why, if they had to do it, why it had to be creepy-ass Norman, who's known her since she was a kid, is over twice her age, and was basically a family friend. No, instead they chose to take this weird combination of plot elements and just beat you over the head with them until you just accepted it, no questions asked, and just moved on. Thankfully for everybody frustrated with this level of garbage storytelling, this one guy, J.R. Fettinger, who runs the site Spidey Kicks Butt, or used to I should say, since he hasn't posted anything in a few years now, wrote up this entire blog post pinpointing exactly when in the comics Gwen could have slept with Norman and why she would have done it. I'm not going to get into the whole thing and just read over the whole post for you here in this video because we'd be here all day, but basically he says it happened after Norman saves Gwen's father, Captain George Stacy, from a gunman hired by the Kingpin. There's obviously a lot more to it than that. Some psychology and behavioral stuff gets thrown in. She's mad at Peter or something. It's actually a very well thought out piece that you should check out if you're interested. The link's going to be in the description. But because Marvel has to have some incompetent moments in their history, they basically just TLDR'd the post and summed up the whole thing with the gunman and acting heroic and all that, and pasted it to their Gwen Stacy bio on their website. Now that's not a knock on old JR, by the way. That's just me ripping on Marvel for clearly not having any set backstory or justification for this thing, and instead deciding to rip off a random fan's blog post because it's pretty much the best way of explaining a bad situation. Here's the thing though, the way the story was originally written up, Norman didn't have anything to do with fathering some weirdo kids with Gwen. It turns out Peter was actually supposed to be the dad in this whole setup, according to J. Michael Straczynski. Now Straczynski allegedly hated what Marvel, and by Marvel I mean Joe Quesada, the guy in charge of creative decisions in the comic side of things, did with the story in the end and wanted to just retcon the whole thing and hope people would forget about it after a while, but Marvel, aka Quesada, wouldn't let him. Now I say allegedly here because he's gone on record before defending this story like a madman and swearing up and down that people who hate the story are only doing it because they want to slut shame Gwen or something weird like that. Either way, Marvel decided to keep bringing it up, hinting at it and stuff, like showing a hallucination of a pregnant Gwen about to be killed, or Spider-Man mentioning that there's actually more than one Grey Goblin in New York, etc. Apparently not learning their lesson, Marvel then went and brought back Gabriel Stacy for essentially no reason, only to forget about him later on. Look, Marvel, I get that you guys want to dig your heels in and force everybody to like these kids, but nobody does. They're a bad idea now, and they were a bad idea back in the day. Do yourselves a favor and just do an outright reboot of these two ASAP, or at least acknowledge that they're both gone because of Secret Wars or something like that. And while you're at it, maybe you can tell us what happened to Peter and Mary Jane's kid instead of just kind of sort of hinting at what happened to her. Alright, thanks. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button, maybe leave me a comment while you're at it, and go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out any of my social media pages. I've got a Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. All those links are going to be in the description below. And I've also got my last video right there in the middle of your screen, so if you want to check that out, go ahead and click it, check it out. Alright, and I will see you all next time.